We had a... London is just Christmassy. Hello everybody and welcome back to this last episode of the Scrum for the Autumn Nation series, and I'm here at Hyde Park at the Winter Wonderland, and it's pretty apt because we got to experience a rugby wonderland across the last 4 weekends of Autumn Nation series. Let's go have a look at some of the best.
Over the top, not Pimpy. But what a day, what a test match. Drive for Australia. And it's Ryan Elias again, couple of meters away, and it's the point. Oh, yes he can.
But Bruno scores on his debut. Italy get the victory.
That'll do it. Argentina burst into life. Firing once more. And that will be that at the Aviva Stadium.
Quite the atmosphere build here at the Stade de France.
Ntamack will cut inside and score. And it's a lovely shot from Yamani over the line for New Zealand. 32. Intercept. Pano is going to go under the post for France. It's been scintillating. Sensational.
So let's have a recap of what we got to witness in the final weekend of Autumn Nation series. And what better way to start than Stade de France. Paris, c'était énorme, incroyable. It was a moment to savor. The first win for the French against the All Blacks since 2009 and the first win in Paris since 1973. I mean, I'm old, but I wasn't even born then. And I mean, what an incredible game of rugby we got to witness. Excitement, exhilaration, scintillating. I mean, the superlatives are endless. Moment of the game for me has got to be Romain Ntamack. In his in-goal area, the audacity to not just put the ball down, given rugby's new rule that you have to kick it out from your try line. He said, well, let me take on the All Blacks. Let me hand off one or two players. Let me do a sneaky little offload to Jaminet, who just made life amazing.
Reverse ball for Jaminet.
If that did not make you fall back in love with rugby, nothing will. And over to Twickenham, where a replay of the 2019 Rugby World Cup final saw England take on the mighty Springboks, the number 1 ranked team in the world. And yes, it lived up to one phenomenal test match with a last-minute heroics from the young prodigy, Marcus Smith. A little bit of ill discipline from the Springboks, having capitalized on so much of that grunt up front. And looking really in a position to unsettle the English in that second half. It was England, a young England under Eddie Jones in this new phase, putting the Springboks under a massive amount of pressure and coming away with a victory, although it did not change the world rankings for the Springboks, given the fact that New Zealand lost over in Paris just a wee bit later. But for England, it was not revenge. It was about building for the future, and this game would have given Eddie Jones some great insight into what exactly he has in his tool shed for 2023. And over at the Principality, we had another dramatic last-minute winner.
So Beale showed the value of experience a few moments ago. Can Reece Priestland? Oh, yes he can!
Wales coming away with the win. Australia struggling for most of that game, having been down to 14 men, but they showed some great fight. And yes, they will go away from this tour winless, but they would have learned so much. Disappointing for Australia, triumph for Wales. And my top 3 talking points for this episode of The Scrum. We have got to start off with the Northern Hemisphere dominance. A clean sweep across the weekend and a sign of an increasingly competitive international scene, in my personal opinion. And I think the Six Nations has all of a sudden just got that much more exciting, intense, and exhilarating. And France, England definitely saying they're here to stay, but Ireland are saying don't count us out, and Scotland, with their captain Stuart Hogg breaking the Scotland all-time try-scoring record, are not to be forgotten. So I think it sets up the Six Nations just beautifully. And over at Twickenham, a phenomenal player who was the first Springbok to score a try in a Rugby World Cup final, which, I don't know what that says about me. But Makazole Mapimpi went on to score against England, and this time be the fastest Springbok, beating me, who got it in 27 tests, to score 20 tries in only 25 test matches. And how good has he been for the Springbok side? A deadly finisher when he sniffs the try line, and ranking up against some of the best wingers in world rugby, Makazole Mapimpi is definitely putting his hand up. And my final point for this week's last edition of the Big Three has got to be something that is on everyone's lips: the player of the Autumn Nation Series.
The fullback gets his first try in an England jersey. It's popped up for Dupont, who's having a look down the short side, but he might think better of it. Decides to just straighten, wrestles himself away from the second tackle. He's almost a one-man team as he goes into Havili. Inside to Marcus Smith. And the Harlequin takes England beyond 50.
And there were a huge amount of standout players. Three players that really popped to mind for me: Anton Dupont, Eben Etzebeth, and Caelan Doris. Incredible individual performances for their teams. And yes, Eben showed why 97 test matches in, he is regarded as one of the best to have ever played the game and worn that number 4 jersey. Caelan Doris being the inspiration, the spark that Ireland needed to make sure that they leveled opposition across this Autumn Nation Series. But for me, Anton Dupont was the reason that we saw this French side go from strength to strength, the cornerstone of everything that they did well: exuberance, physicality, pace, burst of skill. It was just phenomenal, and he lit the engine that saw the French go on to win 3 in a row. So yes, we would love you to have your say. Comment, share your thoughts, let us know who you thought was outstanding, not only for their team but throughout the Autumn Nation Series. And then when you've let us know your thoughts, head over to the Autumn Nation Series website, where you can vote for your player that you think deserves to be named the player of the Autumn Nation Series. And across the Autumn Nation Series, we saw bone-crunching tackles. We saw some silky, soft skills. But for me, it was the tries that made this Autumn Nation Series, and we had heaps of phenomenal ones across the course of the weekend. These are my top 5.
He gets pretty close. Ollie Price again, go down the blind side. Here's Scurban! Aspen! Can Ewan Aspen get the ball down in the corner?
Does Ashman do enough under Peresi's pressure? Peresi has great defensive effort, but the feet come up. Trap time. What a finish by Ewan Ashman. Maybe they'll get an opportunity now. As Will Jordan just needs one moment. And away he comes. I told you, just a moment. And it's a moment of absolute magic. Try for Will Jordan. Simple. Down to this side, Antonio will be the dummy runner. And Ntamack will cut inside and score. His last try was against Ireland over a year ago.
Fiji. This is like 7 star, isn't it? To Subu, the fullback. Here's the late play, and here's the opportunity for Nea Salibu. You beauty!
Here's Geordie Barrett. That's one for Severis to get after. There's a new open spaces there, and he's got there. There's the offload. Rico Ioane, back to Rees. Arnie Savea, back to Severis.
And let's have a look at the social wrap for the last time. I think it's now time to look back across the best of the social media. A standout moment in terms of social media wrap were the 2 number 9s, Aaron Smith and Anton Dupont, showing that win or lose, pick your chin up, say congratulations and swap jerseys. And what an awesome moment this was for the young incumbent to the master of the trade. And yes, the Autumn Nations series gave us some of the most incredible, heartwarming scenes, and none more so than Freddie Stewart, who got to embrace his granddad after England beat South Africa at Twickenham. And if this moment doesn't melt you, if this moment doesn't show you the pure passion and emotion with which players play the game, but with which their families support them, you're probably watching the wrong sport. And I am Bryan with a Y, and we all know the legend that is Bryan with an I, O'Driscoll. What an absolute champion. But my attire at Twickenham, really got Bryan trying to look at a comparison between me and the most incredible Inspector Gadget. Thanks, Drico. Very kind of you. And we have so much technology showing us every angle of the game, but when your cameraman gets a little bit too close, it is a little bit hair-raising. And having a bit of a recap over the Autumn Nations Series Fantasy League, I'm not going to lie to you, myself and Squidge hang our head in shame. So poor. But it was the team of Simon who won my league with a whopping, I don't even know, Simon, how you got to this, but it was a whopping 2,486.7 points. That is just kudos to you, sir. Much respect. So that means Simon will be winning some merchandise along with Ben McCain, who was the overall winner, not of my league, but of the overall league. Ben McCain, hat tip to you, champion. And yes, we mentioned some of the players of the Autumn Nations series, but I want you to please vote and comment and give us some of your team selections, your best 15 across the Autumn Nations series. And again, if we just look at some of the players that I thought were incredible, you had Freddie Stewart alongside Melvin Jamina at fullback, Damien Pernot and Joshua Tuisava at wing, who I thought were really, really good. Kalen Doris, I thought was just the engine room of that island, incredible momentum. A Tyke Furlong, a Ronan Kelleher, a Rachejo Faditswa Oxenche, are just some of the names, but we would love to know who is your best 15. So share your thoughts with us, because if you can't choose, who's gonna? So yes, folks, I cannot believe it's time to say goodbye. I'm gonna say continue following the Autumn Nations series on all their social media handles, because you know what? The Six Nations is only a few months away, and we want more of it, don't we? And even though I'm not gonna cry, I'm so sad to go. But don't you stop following the Autumn Nations series social media handles. Go check them out.
Here we go then. The North versus the South.
He's lightning quick.
That's powerful.
When you're that big, you don't need to run at gaps.
Japan believe these days.
What have they done?
That is very intelligent play.
He's going to do it all on his own.
That is superb.
This is rugby at its best.
Met with force.
And dominant.
He's dynamic.
Drive. Efficient. Clinical.
The pace, the strength, the power.
Neat and tidy and opportunistic.
That was amazing.
Absolutely brilliant.
So this is your future. My goodness me, wow!
This is Autumn Nations Series.